joined by Grant Hall. Appreciate your time, Grant. How are you today?
Doing well, thanks, Phil.
Outstanding. Well, let me play this for you. This will make you happier, too.
Out to deep left. It is gone. It's a home run. Nolan returns to Denver and goes deep. His 23rd home run.
I thought maybe you were going to play Albert there.
It's at the wall. Gone. Albert Pujols, in a game in which he is tied. Ty Cobb, in games played, is back at the ballpark in which he had his first ever major league hit. Decades later, he's going deep. Albert Pujols, 687 career homers.
Yeah, Cardinals rebounded, Grant, after laying an egg against Colorado in the first game. And, I mean, you know they're a better team than Colorado. It's just baseball's a crazy sport. What do you feel about St. Louis and the way that they've played since the deadline, in which they didn't make any moves to bolster the lineup, but they certainly bolstered that pitching staff quite a bit?
Yeah, they added those pitchers, and one of them, Quintana, got a win last night. Albert, in addition to the 687 home runs, they said it was his first four-hit game since 2019, his 45th four-hit game in his career. And I've got a question for you, Phil. I heard last night that there have been two home run cycles in baseball history, pro baseball history. You know, like Danielle Gibson got for the Arkansas softball team a while back. And one of them, they said, was by an Arkansas Traveler in 1998. Now, when did you stop working Travelers games?
Now, my first year with the Travelers was 2001. So I wasn't there when Tyrone Horn hit those 4 home runs. Yeah, and that game wasn't even broadcast back in Arkansas because the Travelers then just broadcast home games. And then they didn't start doing the road games until they hired me. And so I'd have been there if it would have happened in 2001. But, yeah, 98, San Antonio, Tyrone Horn pulled off the trick. And I know Danielle Gibson did it too. So you've got an Arkansas connection to 2 out of the 3 home run cycles that I've ever heard of. But this guy who pulled the trick yesterday for Springfield, Chandler Redmond, he went to Gardner-Webb College. So I don't think there was an Arkansas connection there.
Yeah, that's in North Carolina, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly where it is. That's right. Hey, you know, the Field of Dreams game is tonight. That was a ton of fun last year, but a yawner of a matchup. Is Drew Smiley pitching in this today?
Yeah. Yeah, and he won his last time out. I think he's something like 4-6 this season and pitching better recently. So that's what an honor to do that.
No kidding, man. I didn't realize Drew was the starting pitcher in that game today. So that's a reason to actually pay attention to it. Otherwise, you know, Reds and Cubs doesn't quite have the same oomph that the White Sox and the Yankees had last year. Not like the Sox are any good right now, but the Yankees are. That have you ever been to Dyersville? You ever been to the Field of Dreams movie site?
No, that stays on the bucket list. I haven't even been to Cooperstown, which is another thing that you've done that, haven't you? You've been to the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I've been there twice. Not since I was like 17 or 18 years old, so I think I'd need to go back and visit there at some point. Drew, have you been to Cooperstown?
No. The closest I ever got there was when I was up in Buffalo. That was the first time I ever stepped foot in the state of New York. Definitely on the bucket list. And not just to go. I feel like if I'm going to go to the Hall of Fame, I'm going for a weekend. Like, that's not
it's not a one-day thing.
It's not a one-day thing. I'm doing every exhibit. I'm reading every single plaque. I'm doing every little tour that you can possibly do, because how many other times am I going to have a chance to go back? So if I ever do make it up there, I'm making it at least a 3-day event.
Grant, I'm a little surprised you haven't been. You're a baseball guy through and through. How come you? I mean, you really, it takes effort to get there. I mean, you're not just going to go to Cooperstown on the way to somewhere else.
That's there was this guy named Bob Burns who wrote for the St. Louis Globe Democrat, and he was on KNOX for years, and he used to talk about how you really can't get there from here. You have to bus it, or you have to, hitchhike or something. I mean, do you remember having trouble finding this little hamlet, getting there?
Well, I didn't do the driving, so it was pretty easy for me. I just sat there and let my dad do the driving. So he knew how to get there since he's a New York native and had been there a couple of times before. But we had the Hall of Fame president on halftime last week. A guy that we were in the same fraternity at Indiana University, 1994 and 1995, and I'm like, wow. I don't know if I'll ever get quite to that level, but running the Hall of Fame is quite a job. You got to get there, man. And another Hall of Fame that's worth visiting, which is closer, is the Negro League Hall of Fame in Kansas City. That's one that's worth your time too. Yeah, and it's not too far from the ballpark, is it? You see the signs there at least for I don't know. No, the ballpark is more suburban, and I think I know the Negro League's Hall of Fame. It's not downtown, but it's not far from downtown. It's more like in the middle of the city. We went to about 3 games there last year with the Cardinals and Royals, and had a good time. You mentioned New York. The Yankees have lost 8 out of 10, Phil, and I think still have a 10-game lead. But Benintendi, I think, is hitting 306 or something like that now. Got off to a slow start with him, but got a couple of hits the other night. So he got up to 3rd in the order, I noticed, in their most recent game. Grant, what do you think about the way the playoffs are constructed now? Are you okay with adding another team to the playoffs and kind of cheapening the regular season a little bit? I like that they put an emphasis on the first 2, on the top 2 records in each league getting a bye, and that there's no more single game wild card, and now you got to play a real series. But I think you're probably more of a traditionalist than I am when it comes to the sport. How did you feel about this? Well, I felt better about it when the Cardinals had that last wild card position. Otherwise wouldn't be getting in, and now I think they've got a game lead in their division or something, and the division, as you know, is woeful except for St. Louis and Milwaukee. And by the way, they begin a series in St. Louis this weekend, I think. But yeah, I mean, I can remember when it was National League against American League. That's it, and then you started adding tiers, and now you got more. And really, there aren't that many teams in contention. I mean, there are some teams, Phil, that are done for the year, and their fans know they're done for the year. So, like me, I'm a Pirates fan. The season was over before it started. You know who you're talking to here, right? Yeah, I follow what they're doing. We saw them play last year in St. Louis, and I liked some of their young players, but it's a challenge, right? Oh, don't you worry. Those good young players will be playing for someone else pretty soon. Yeah, that's how it works in baseball, unfortunately.
Yeah, Grant, I want to go back to the Cardinals here real quick because I don't know if it's possible or if he'd even really want to, but hitting 700, getting to that 700 mark, it really is an achievement. It's something not very many people have ever done. Let's say Albert makes it to, let's say he gets to 695. Could you see a possibility of him coming back next year, get those 5 and, kind of just retire after hitting 700? Because after such a great career, and I know A-Rod fell short of it. I think he was only, 2-3 shy of 700. Like, you're right there. Yeah, okay, yeah. It's like you're right there. You might as well just, especially if the ball club will let you, just keep going. You got to get there.
Well, my son texted me that same question this morning, and I answered to him that I think all of the retirement festivities are in such place, and he's been honored in every city he's going to for the last time, And the interesting thing about Albert is about a month ago he was hitting 198 or something. Now he's up to 244. Got this 4-hit game, and it doesn't look like he's going to get enough home runs unless he really went on a tear. But maybe he'll play more often. I think maybe there's an outside chance he could get to A-Rod's 696, but he seems to just be really content this year, helping younger players. They're always talking about that, just how much fun he's having. Mm-hmm. I think he probably would like to manage someday, but right now, and people think that about Yachty too. Maybe he would, but right now, at least Ollie's doing better than he was a while ago.
I like that idea that you brought up. I've never really thought about Pujols or Yachty being managers, and it takes the right type of player, especially a Hall of Fame type of player like those are, to be a good manager. I mean, you think back to some of the worst. Ted Williams was one of the worst managers because he couldn't get it across to people how to do it. He would just say, I would just do it left.
He literally hated pitchers.
And he hated his pitchers. It's so hard for great athletes to be coaches, to be managers in that leadership role, because it comes natural to them. to where it doesn't come natural to 99.5% of us. Out of those two, which one do you think would translate best into a manager type of role?
I think maybe Albert. Well, I'm not sure what's been going on with Yachty this year. He was away all that time. He missed 37 games, and I know he was hurt. He's back now. He was a day late reporting this year, so not sure what's going on in his life. But I think you're right about, sometimes they say great players don't necessarily make great managers because they get frustrated seeing guys not do what they could do, and then you get a guy like Billy Martin, who was, his batting average wasn't that great, or some guy that really had to work for it. Maybe, Phil, at least that's the theory, right?
I think it is. It's like the idea of the knowledge of the sport is not always the ability to impart that knowledge into. And look, also what managing can be sometimes is about setting a tone in the clubhouse. And it can be a little difficult, I think, when the star of the manager shines so brightly, especially in today's day and age. Like, I'm racking my brain here. There have been Hall of Famers that turned into managers, but nobody stuck around, at least recently, for a long time. Paul Molitor managed. It didn't last very long. Eddie Matthews managed. I don't think it lasted very long. I think of who are the great players that turned into Hall of Fame managers.
Boone,
Joe Torre.
But it's not like he was great though. No, he was great. He was great for one at bat in a championship series. But
I think of Joe Torre is maybe the guy who had the best career and then turned into a Hall of Fame manager at the same time. And it took him until he got to the Yankees.
Frank Robinson managed, but he didn't do it for long.
That's true. It's been a while.
He actually won Manager of the Year, so he might be the best.
Joe Torre had 362 one year for the Cardinals. I saw the other day that he used a tip from Red Schoendienst about, getting his arms higher or something that year, and he hit 362 for the Cardinals. But yeah, you think about guys like Earl Weaver or Sparky Anderson that struggled as players, and maybe that gave him a better appreciation, more patience for what it took to succeed.
Yeah, a guy like Tony La Russa, he was a hack in the minor leagues. Same with Jim Leyland. These were some of the best managers of their time, and La Russa's still doing it now. Dusty Baker had a great playing career, not Hall of Fame, and he might be a Hall of Fame manager without winning a World Series. That's the one reason I can pull for Houston, Grant. I love Dusty Baker. That's the only reason I could pull for Houston.
He was here at Arkansas a few years ago when he wasn't managing for a little bit, and he came and I'm trying to think of the connection. He had a friend.
No, his son played for Cal in the regional at Baum Walker.
That's right, but one of the former Arkansas players was a friend of his. Anyway, he was here. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. I typically have rooted for the Cardinals against him, but and actually I got to see him play one time, Phil, when he was early 20s, and he was on that Braves team the year that Henry Aaron broke the home run record, and was struggling to. He wouldn't talk to some of the writers in town in Atlanta who weren't writing good things about him, but that's a long time ago.
BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BELIEVE, BLEAV 50. That's BELIEVE, BLEAV 50. Bet online, where the game starts.